Despite what somebody might tell you, and all these lead generation agencies, and most of them are frauds and scams, is that there is no perfect one-size-fits-all ad that works every time in every market forever for every agent. In real estate, you often hear that leads are the name of the game. And while there is some truth to that, generating leads is important. The caveat is that generating leads is very easy. Converting leads is a completely different ballgame, and that's where most agents struggle. I have endless tutorials on my YouTube channel showing you different strategies about how you can leverage Google ads, YouTube ads, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook ads in order to generate leads within the next 24 hours. And if you want any of them, drop a comment below which platform you care about, and I will give that to you. However, getting leads is irrelevant if you cannot convert them. This is where a lot of agents go wrong, is they always hear leads, 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 and they're always taught, get more leads. But the difficulty is if I give you 100 leads, 1,000 leads, and none of them turn into clients and closed transactions, those leads are useless. So what I want to do today is break down the 7 biggest mistakes that I see agents making when it comes to lead generation and why they aren't converting the leads into appointments, conversations, and closed transactions. There's going to be at least one of the things I'm going to break down for you that will make a world of a difference for your business, just depending on where you're at in the experience level. So you want to make sure to not skip a single one of these 7. So without further ado, let's dive in. What's up, guys? My name is Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty. I train thousands of agents every year to scale their business the modern way, leveraging social media. And this is near and dear to my heart because, again, I help thousands of agents generate leads, but more importantly, convert those leads into closed deals. And that's what I want for you as well. So let's get started and dive into the 7 different things that you need to be very mindful of when generating leads to make sure that you're actually closing them. Okay, so the first one is focusing on leads, not conversations. This is a huge mistake that I see agents making because I know a ton of agents that have enormous amounts of leads, but none of them are turning into conversations. And that oftentimes comes down to the intent. So what you'll see is a lot of times coaches and mentors and brokers are going to tell you, go call 300 people a day, go knock 100 doors a day, go to a networking event or social media and add 10 people to your database per day, which is good. That is necessary. But the metric you should be spending more time on is how many conversations are you having? And a lot of that comes down to intent. And I think this is where a lot of agents go wrong, is that they're focusing so much on the lead and the number of leads that they forget that the conversation is actually what leads to the appointment. So what happens is agents have a habit of being busy, not productive. I'm not saying cold calling and door knocking is not productive. It is. I did in the beginning to build my top producing business. However, what comes after that is genuinely what matters the most. So many people are just focused on adding more and more and more to the database instead of saying, okay, I have these 100, I have these 50, whatever that looks like. How many conversations am I having? And am I even intentionally trying to get the conversation? Because when you hear a lot of these coaches just adding these big numbers of what you need to do on a daily basis and calls and knocks and all of these different things, that's fine. But you should be focusing your time on how many people are you genuinely and intentfully speaking with when it comes to real estate. So all that goes to say is that to pull it full circle, yes, you need to be generating the leads, but your ultimate goal and the majority of your focus should be spent following up with those leads, which we'll get to, and how many people can you actually have a conversation with instead of just adding more leads and more leads and more leads. Because again, leads are easy. They're a dime a dozen. It's very easy to get if you know the right ads to run on the right platforms. But so many people spend nearly 80% of their time on generating leads, 20% on trying to turn them into conversations. You should flip that and spend 20% of your time generating the leads and 80% of your time actively and relentlessly doing part number 2 in order to actually turn those leads into conversations. Part number 2 being follow-up. So there's some crazy stats out there that I just want to rhyme off for you. And this is really going to set in stone why it's so important to focus on the follow-up process of the leads when they come in. Okay, so let me just walk through a couple of the important stats that I've got pulled up here that will really set in stone why the follow-up is so important. So 50% of all sales happen after the 5th contact attempt, but most people give up after the 2nd. things get better. It takes 8 cold calls on average to reach a prospect. 72% of all sales calls are not answered. So again, talking about 80% of time being spent on converting, turning into conversations versus 80% spent on generating the leads, this is where a lot of agents go wrong, is they will follow up with a lead, say, no, contact information's wrong, didn't pick up, didn't answer, boom, on to the next lead. Not the next attempt to have a conversation, right? So 8 cold calls to reach a prospect. Most give up after 1 or 2, 50% give up after 4. It gets even better. 92% of all realtors give up after the 4th call, but 80% of prospects say no 4 times before they say yes. So that comes back to the relentless follow-up, being able to have them in a proper process for a drip sequence or some sort of calling sequence in order to make sure that you're adding them to your database. 83% of prospects who requested info do not buy or sell for 3 to 12 months. Let's look at a couple other things that are going to be important. The timing. The best days to make contact are Wednesday to Thursday. 49% difference in success between Tuesday and Thursday. The best time to contact a lead is between 4 and 5 p.m. and the second best time is between 8 and 9 a.m. I always chose 4 to 5 p.m. because usually they're driving home from work, and I find that after a day, they're usually a bit more open to a conversation when they're driving home from work than in the morning when they're kind of just getting ready and early in the morning to go to work. Now, a couple other things that I just want to pull this full circle with in terms of stats before going on is after 5 minutes, the odds of connecting with the lead drops by 80%. After 10 minutes, there is a 400% decrease in the odds of connecting with the lead. This is where things are mind-blowing. The average response time for online leads is 17 hours. So if 80% reduction in conversion rate or connecting rate after 5 minutes, 400% reduction after 10 minutes, the average response time is 17 hours. That is insane. 50% of all leads will work with the person who connects with them first or contacts them first. So when you start looking at those stats, it's really mind-blowing to see really how most agents are approaching the business and the importance of understanding the day, the time, the frequency of following up, because that's the name of the game. If 83% are not buying within 3 to 12 months, and after 8 points of contact, that's when most people actually set the appointment, you really need to step up the game when it comes to follow-up. Now, the third thing is really near and dear to my heart. I talk about this often, but it's a concept of being unbiased. What this comes down to is both conversing with the lead and simultaneously the ads that you're running for lead generation. So when we talk about the ads that we're running for lead generation, take Facebook ads or Google ads, but we use Facebook because it's easiest to understand. I always do this audit to put myself in the consumer's shoes, and then we will talk about the lead itself. When you look at the ad, you always have to ask yourself, as soon as you create your Facebook ad, you put in the copy, which is the written aspect, you put in the creative, which is the photo or video. You have to then ask yourself before you click publish, would you click on that ad if you were just a member of the general public, weren't in real estate, and you were just hanging out at work, at home, whatever, and that landed in front of you? Would you click on that ad? Would you go so far as to put in the correct information? Because the value from that ad is so high that you are willing to put in the correct information knowing somebody's going to follow up with you. Not only that, when they follow up with you, are you okay with answering your phone knowing they're going to try and get you to work with them? If your answer is no, then you need to get back to the drawing board with your ad. If the answer is yes, you've got an ad that based on consumer behavior is going to connect, is going to convert. So that's why you see all these agents running ads of their headshots and all this nonsense and useless stuff. That serves nobody. That's valuable to no one but your egotistical self. What is valuable is pre-construction lists of properties that have not yet hit the market and only agents in the know have access to, or new developments that are coming up, or all of these different things, a list of off-market properties. That type of stuff is valuable because only the right people can get it and the general public does not have access to it. So you really need to audit that. Now, when it comes to being unbiased with the lead itself, you have to understand that a lead is a human being. I think a lot of agents genuinely forget that a lead is a human. So when we think about being unbiased, the thing that I always like to tell people is, let's say your daughter or your son was buying a property and they are essentially a lead in somebody's database. The big question is, how would you want somebody to follow up with your child, right? Do you want them to just pester them, annoy them? Do you want them to do it in sort of a selfish way? Do you want them to read off a script that means absolutely nothing to them? It's just templated. You didn't look at the value you can bring, but rather you're looking at the selfish aspect of just getting the appointment, not what you can do for them. What you need to do is stop selling and start serving. Once you can serve people with selfless value, that is when you're going to start to convert. Because if I had a kid and they were a lead and somebody was following up with them, I would want them to approach it in a way of, hey, what can I do for you? How can I help you in this process? What can I be doing better? How can I give you value to make your process, your customer journey easier? Not, hey, how can we set an appointment? Hey, are you looking to buy or sell? Like, no. You have to think about it unbiasedly as if you or your daughter or your son or your mother or father is the lead, because that actually is the case for somebody else on the other end. So you have to look at this and put yourself in their shoes and say, how would you want to be followed up? And what type of tonality, what type of approach would be welcoming and inviting enough to you to actually want to meet the person, the realtor, on the other end trying to set the appointment. Number 4 is really important, which is not understanding the target avatar. This goes down to demographics, psychographics, and pain points. And demographics is going to be age, gender, location. Psychographics is going to be behaviors. And then pain points are going to be what you need to solve for them. And these are so important because the type of ad that you would be running for somebody that is maybe 30 to 35 years old, buying their first property or selling their first property, is going to be drastically different than somebody that is maybe 60 to 70 year old. The tonality, the language, the approach, the conversion aspect of it. So what you need to understand is that when it comes to lead generation, the ones that win are the ones that have full clarity on who their target avatar is so that they can properly cater and tailor the writing or the copy in their ads to that person, the follow-up process to that person's lifestyle, the video or the photo that they will use in the ad in order to connect with that person. Because the type of video I would create for somebody that's 25 to 35 is drastically different from the tonality and the approach that I would take for somebody that is 55 to 65. Right? Also different stages of life, different pain points. So you can't do a one-size-fits-all approach. You have to have an understanding of who you're trying to serve, because that ultimately is going to depict how you approach the leads in order to generate them into conversations. 6 is a massive one, and this is where a lot of agents start falling apart, which is the optimization of the ad and the lead generation strategy that they choose. So let me use Facebook, for example, just to keep it consistent with some of the other references and examples in this video. I see a lot of agents, which genuinely is a great start, will follow one of my Facebook ad tutorials, which you actually can generate leads within 24 hours. Happens nearly every time somebody runs it. However, despite what somebody might tell you, and all these lead generation agencies, and most of them are frauds and scams, is that there is no perfect one-size-fits-all ad that works every time in every market forever for every agent. So you can use my tutorials in order to get started, in order to get your first 10, 20, 100, 200 leads. That's fine, that's easy. Now, what you need to understand is that based on algorithms changing, based on budgets changing, based on market and interest rates and everything changing, that ad will not continue to perform the same over time. Sometimes it might perform better, sometimes it might perform worse. So what you need to understand is how to actually look at the data of your lead generation ads and be able to make calculated improvements over time so that when it performs worse, you know what to do to make it perform better. It doesn't mean you have to stop it. You might need to change the copy. You might need to change the creative or the landing page or the budget or something that comes from looking at the optimization. So it's really important because that's going to allow you to fine tune things over time, where as your ad runs longer, it actually gains more algorithmic power and it can perform better if you're tweaking it over time. Where people go wrong is they cut it and they kill it, and then they restart with a new ad, with a new approach. but then that kills all the data. So learning how to optimize is so important, and so is understanding the journey of advertising. So I always like to frame it in this way, which is about a 3-month process. Month 1, if you genuinely care about crushing it with paid lead generation, first month should be learning. And what I mean by that is I go into ads first month and I don't even expect any result. My expectations is to learn the data as to what's working and what's not. So I'm not looking at, oh my God, I didn't get a client within the first month, it's not gonna work. No, you need to look at the data. So run a couple different ads, couple different copy, couple different creative, different styles, and get an idea of what is working and what is not. Month 2, start to optimize. At the end of month 2, you should be able to optimize it to the point where month 3, you can ramp up the budget and scale. But a lot of people go wrong because they're trying to literally month 1, crank up the budget and just let it rip with the same ad that everybody else in their market's running, right? That makes no sense. And I also think a little bonus tip in here, a big thing that agents go wrong with is understanding return on ad spend or return on investment. So if you could spend $600 and get a $5,000 or $10,000 commission every time, every realtor would be rich. But that's not the case. So you can spend $600 and you might get a client, but you might spend a couple $1,000s next time on ads before you get the client, and so on and so forth. And what I mean by that is that so many agents will spend $500, $600 after 1 month, not get the client to the closed deal, and suddenly they say, I'm spending so much money that this isn't worth it. Well, again, if you could spend $600 to make $10,000, I would print that all day long and do it forever and be a billionaire, right? But that's not the case. Most people as investors or entrepreneurs are looking for a 3x return on ad spend. So let's say it's a $10,000 commission, you should be willing to spend at least up to about $3,000 before getting a closed deal. That's far greater than people that are cutting it after about $500. And the last part, number 7, is just genuinely not putting enough effort into it. Where I want to take this point is think about university, for example, or college, where there's 2 different ways to approach college or university, which is the people that regurgitate and the people that learn. The people that learn are the ones that go on to Harvard, Yale, all of these big universities and colleges, because they genuinely understand the problems, the lessons, and how to apply those key principles in any situation. Where the students go wrong that don't get into those massive, highly publicized schools is they just learn and regurgitate. All they're trying to do is regurgitate to pass the test. So they memorize, regurgitate, forget, and repeat. If you ask somebody, even me, right? I did that in the beginning, which is, can I go solve the math problems that I did in my, 3-page math problems in university? I couldn't do that right now because I never learned. I just regurgitated to get through it because I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do forever. The same thing goes with advertising. You need to learn it, not just regurgitate it. You need to spend time on the platform. You need to spend some money and invest it, not looking at it as a constant expense, but investing it in terms of developing your skill set so that you can improve over time, so you can better understand, better optimize, and thus get better results. So if you're having any specific pain points with your lead generation, drop a comment below and I will be here to help you, because I genuinely want to see you win, turn those leads into closed deals, and start smashing your goals every single year. But these are the common mistakes that I see all too often, and I want to make sure that you avoid them. So if you have any other questions, again, drop that comment below. Otherwise, please make sure you are subscribed. We'll see you in the next video.